Alright.
Uh,
Alright, let's go. You ready?
okay, nice.
Alright, let's start the countdown.
Recording.
3,
3, 2, 1.
1.
This is Urthcast with your lovely hosts, Ian and Shadow.
Hello.
Now, if you may be asking yourself, what is Urthcast? I introduce you to the grand and glorious Art, who is our roleplay officer for the forum, RP community, to introduce to you what is Urthcast and, you know, what our goal is.
So basically, Urthcast has been a project of the forum roleplay department for a while. It transcends even my term. I believe the initiative for it started way back, if I can remember this correctly, during your term, Shadow. I think
Yeah,
people were already.
yeah.
I think people were already calling for it during your term, way before mine. Earthcat is basically just a place for us forum role players to talk about things happening in forum roleplay and things happening about the people who are in forum roleplay. We sometimes might even talk about things that are happening in character and things that might happen out of character. Just in general roleplay things that us role players are going to enjoy. Sometimes we might even do table reads of some role plays. Wink, wink.
I love how unsubtle that was. You know?
Yeah, quite.
So I'm doing a lot of talking, so I'm gonna kind of look to Ian here. What do you want to talk about first?
Well, I think we should probably talk about Beyond the Wall first, considering that's our newest thing when it comes to forum roleplay, I'd say.
Definitely. Beyond the Wall. This is an interesting concept, honestly. What do you know about it, Ian?
Yeah, so kind of like this podcast, it's been in the works for a while, but it's only just recently come to actual fruition. So basically, normal Earth is a sphere, just a normal fucking planet. Beyond the
Right.
Wall, in Beyond the Wall, Earth is a gigantic, infinitely long cylinder. And the part that, basically where all of normal Earth is, quote unquote, is called Equatoria in this Beyond the Wall roleplay. And basically, when spaceflight first came about in 1961, if I remember right, when the Morse Bishleyans sent a man into space, that one guy up in space saw that the Earth was just a gigantic cylinder. And so basically, for decades after that point, every nation who sent up people, learned of it. And basically, there came to be this kind of, I suppose you could call it a secret organization hiding the truth from the populace at large. And basically, by 2020, a company called Cluster Serenitech has leaked this information to the public.
Oops.
Essentially causing a bit of widespread chaos for a little bit. But, now that the cat's out of the bag, people just have to accept, what are you going to do about it? But basically, so Earth is an infinitely long cylinder. Our sun and our moon orbit the cylinder. Basically, the cylinder is thought to be at the center of the universe. So the sun and moon orbit our cylinder. And then Okay, there are multiple ice walls dividing up the cylinder.
Right, there's the ice wall to the north and the ice wall to the south.
Yeah, basically, the ice wall to the north blocks off a section of the cylinder that's called Rotantica, and the southern ice wall blocks off Sempiternica. Beyond the wall focuses on Rotantica, which is the more habitable section of the cylinder. Sempiternica has a bunch of blue plants. There's a lot less light. It's a lot colder.
Hmm.
And actually, all these other sections also have their own suns and moons orbiting around. And basically, Sempiternica's sun is a lot weaker than our own.
Sounds like my basement.
I bet.
Beyond
yeah.
the wall, yeah. I think Beyond the
continue.
Wall is very interesting. It's very interesting in the fact that it uses new elements that none of us have ever heard of before. Everybody has heard of spaceflight. Everybody has heard of very light speed engines, whatever, even mages, skeleton mages or whatever. But a freaking cylindrical Earth, I don't think anyone has ever thought of that before. At least from what I can remember.
For me personally, I find it more interesting because I know the whole Earth is an infinite cylinder was basically just a joke. Because our map kind of leaves out what is it? North and south 66 degrees, I think it is.
No, 75.
75 degrees. Pardon. I'm a couple degrees off. But I believe it started out as a joke long before I ever joined Forum roleplay. And I love how this is the idea that we've decided to go with. Like, oh, this is an actual conspiracy, and like, oh, look, there's an ice wall, and you can explore past the ice wall. I know the first roleplay comes from Acronis, well, Tavares, technically, the nation of Tavares, where after the news gets leaked, they the prime minister of Tavares kind of has a mental breakdown. That was actually a fun roleplay to read, actually, if you think about it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And as with Ben's humor, it definitely had Ben's humor in it.
In quality
Yeah,
humor.
I love Ben's humor, honestly.
One of the best ways to introduce a new alternate universe is definitely with Ben's humor, because I really feel like Ben's humor really drives home the point. Like, it can make a joke actually be serious, or something serious be a joke. So that's just that icing on the cake right there.
Yeah, definitely. But
So yeah.
Oh, sorry, continue.
Yeah, I was gonna say, when it comes to spaceflight and everything, it sort of calls back to the other alternate universe that we have, which I believe is called 2199. But we'll get to that one in a moment. But it kind of puts into mind, what if there's an intersection between 2199 and Beyond the Wall, where, in the 2199 universe, everybody knows that the Earth is just a cylinder, and they're just like, yeah, okay, so what?
That actually would be really interesting.
I mean, there's nothing in the rules that say alternate universes have to be separate from each other.
Yeah, true.
Wait a minute. Does that mean that the medieval roleplays are canon? And that all these alternate roleplays are just one very confusing timeline?
Obviously.
Obviously,
Didn't you get the memo?
Oh my god.
We passed out that memo a month ago. Didn't you know?
Look, man, I'm just a year old. I'm just I don't even know what things are. All I know is that I actually don't know anything, help. Yeah, the thing with 2199 is that even though there's only a few people in there, the quality of work that is put into work there, especially from my main man Ben, is chef's kiss, very on point with the feeling that I really wanted to have with 2199. I personally had one. I personally have one right there. Currently, it's called Sokai Felica. It's an amalgamation of all my countries, basically on Earth canon. It, don't ask me about lore about Sokai Felica because I don't even know.
What happened was the Sakala just became like a massive superpower, conquered half of Arcturia, and like that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's canon. That's canon right there. Don't even ask me about Shadow knows canon. Shadow knows.
Should have been if it was
Shadow knows
lore.
what's happened.
I mean, personally, for me, when it comes to the 2199 alternate universe, I've always been interested in role playing for it, but I've never found myself in a spot where I can develop enough lore to role play off of it. Because, like, one of the original ideas that I had was just that Algeria survives until 2199, and like off to space we go. And Algeria has Ballistria, and the Earth signs are subservient to the kingdom and everything. And it's like I could do that, but also at the same time, like that's a lot of lore to deal with there. Like that's a lot of effort, and I don't feel like dealing with it.
You could do what I do and just not make the lore easy, very easy.
Yeah, but then how do you roleplay your nation if you don't have any lore for it?
Look, you don't think about it. You just roleplay. That's it. You just push through. Imagine building lore for your nation. Jesus,
Imagine.
what are you, a role player?
Imagine. Whoa.
Oh God, it's not required to make the lore. You could weave you could weave the lore into your role plays like most people do, like normal people do.
Wait, you're supposed to make sure that all of your lore stays consistent? Whoa.
What a shocker.
Imagine retconning. What are you, a role player? Again, the second joke. Funny.
Very funny indeed.
Same joke 2 times obviously makes it funnier the second time.
There's going to be a third time.
Obviously.
Knowing you, I don't doubt it.
Oh, shots fired. Just like in Arcturia.
Oh no! Oh, don't even make me go to it. It's a mess. It's an absolute mess.
It's a mess, but it's a glorious mess.
It's a glorious mess. So, like, in the Arcturia side of things, especially when it talking about like, talk about lore and roleplay and everything right now. Arcturia seems to be a hotbed for activity right now. Where, as I understood it a year ago, it was pretty much the continent of inactivity and the continent of where not a lot of people didn't roleplay. And I feel like in the year since the Drupocalypse, we've seen Arcturia become like this massive like hotbed of activity and very popular. And not to plug my own nation here or anything, but one of the recent massive role plays that have happened in our Arcturia that has basically brought a lot of activity and attention to Arcturia was when Ballistria yeeted the king of Algeria out of existence. On live television, nonetheless, too.
Jesus Christ.
Rest in peace.
Rest in peace, Eldris the
Rest in
Sixth.
pieces.
Oh, he'd definitely be in pieces, though.
Only the head is in pieces. Come on. Read
It's-
read the roleplay, man.
Read the roleplay.
I have you.
Don't cite the ancient magic at me. I was there when it was written.
It's actually funny because looking back at the former nations that formed Arcturia,
Mhm.
it's vastly different geopolitically wise, and even the amount of nations that were in it. There were only a handful of nations there prior to the Drew Wave, and then the Drew Wave came and then it immediately filled up like a water bottle in a water fountain. It's so fast. Plus, everyone's active. Everyone's alive. Other regions are there. Gondwana.
Do you have something stuck in your throat there, Art, or are you trying to imply that the Sakala is existing?
No, no, let's not imply anything. Come on.
Look, if we're talking about spheres here, the Asendavia sphere is the best.
Ah, God.
Oh no! Oh no!
I
No!
will
We're not
fight
gonna
all of you on that. I
Not
will fight all of you. Praise
you
I
Adam.
mean,
are thicker. You're
praise
thicker than the
Adam.
whole of Arcturia. What do you mean?
no, praise Zathos. Obviously, the only right
Okay,
religion.
heretic.
He's nobody. Atheism is the way. Oh my. In
We're gonna have
November.
two
God.
murders on Urthcast tonight,
Oh
guys.
God. Um, is there another royal to be killed, or is it a president this time?
I don't know. It looks like let's see. Algeria is a monarchy and Asendavia is a monarchy. Maybe we can kill
God.
both their monarchs in one shot.
Well, oh, is that canon?
No,
Are we making
not
that
canon.
canon?
Not
Not,
in the
not yet.
slightest.
Not
And a
yet.
whole
But I mean, like it, But like talking about spheres, and since we do have Art here, I do want to ask you, Art, about the Sakala sphere.
So,
Considering the fact that that Sakala and Impel and Yadilika, and one other nation that you have, and I cannot recall the name of it right now. All of those nations,
Urshkanov.
that nation,
No.
Karishkanov, all exist in Center Arcturia, and that takes up a decent chunk of Arcturia right there.
Yeah.
So, would you like to kind of elaborate on kind of like your plans, your ideas, how they interact with each other and whatnot, how they interact with other spheres?
The thing is, unlike Dylan, who has a 5-year plan, I repeat, a 5-year plan. I have no plans, except for the current roleplay that I am making right now, which is brewing disaster.
Okay.
I
For
have a
reference,
general plan.
Art
Hmm?
is not joking when he says Dylan has a 5-year plan. Dylan legitimately has a 5-year plan for his RPs in the future.
Oh yeah, like
Hold
if
us
we're
down.
talking, yeah, it's insane. So you don't have specific plans. Okay, I mean that's
I
fair. I
have a
mean I don't have
general.
plans for Algeria. All I know is that Algeria and Balistria are at war still, and I have yet to resolve that.
The thing is, I have a vision of what I want to see happen. Like already, phase 1 is done. Jardilica is under Ipolclori's power. It's in its grasp. It's the piece in the gauntlet of Ipolclori. Um, but I'm still figuring all of these things out. Just and I don't want to make a solid plan because one, if I do, I will not follow it. I will not follow it. I made a writing plan for brewing disaster. I ended up veering off it like 1,000 kilometers. So I'd rather not make a plan and just let my brain flow, whatever it is.
I never make a plan either, to be honest.
Oh, but your roleplays are beautiful. Mwah.
And I mean, to
Thank
be
you.
fair,
I
Austin.
personally have no self-confidence.
Oh no, like your role plays are very good, very well constructed, and they talk very much. I don't want to say in detail because sometimes there aren't a lot of details, but it gets the point across in a way where you understand what's going on with the characters. And the other thing about like Asendavia and role plays too is that like Asendavia is literally off in the corner of the planet. Like Asendavia doing something isn't gonna have the same ripple effects as, I don't know, Impel Glory invading a nation or a certain Ursine nation shooting the royal of another nation. Like,
Just you wait,
not gonna...
Asendavia will be invading another nation soon.
Ooh,
Oh,
I
no.
like this.
Is it a folklore? Please be a folklore. Take it back. Take it all back. Come on. I won't even
The Asendavia
bat an eye
colonial empire needs to be reestablished.
in
Oh,
Arcturia.
no. All I'm saying is,
Oh, God.
all I'm saying is, we gotta create an anti-Impel Glory coalition now.
There
An
already
AI
is. There already is. There's the thing called the NSDO, the UCA, the whatever Dylan made. Oh, God.
whatever Dylan made.
Dylan's is the IRSA.
That's also anti-folklore, whether you like it or not. It is, the thing with the folklore is that it's starting out to be, of course.
War
They
effort
they
look
do
in
talk to
the
people.
Ballistrian Coalition War.
The thing is, I don't think we haven't worked it out. Basically, my plan, the reason why I had Ipolkori work out with Ballistria was that, of Ipolkori wanted to at least have another nation that is near it that could act as like a shield against Norgsville Dead. Norgsville Dead is one of the most influential nations right now in canon. It has control over a lot of Arcturian nations. So in Ifilcor's eyes, even if Ballistria is a democratic country, but uh it will still support it, even if it's like vastly different in terms of ideology, just for the sole reason of getting it as an ally, as a buffer nation against, Norxville Dead.
Interesting. I mean, to be fair, like, when I adopted Ballistria for a while ago, I didn't really have a specific plan on what I was going to do with Ballistria. One of my initial plans for Ballistria was to get rid of the snakes that lived there at the time that I adopted it, and put in, originally I wanted to, I wanted to keep the snakes, and then I found out that Ian took the snakes, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'll try to have bears there.
Wait, snakes?
Snake
Yeah,
people.
Ballistria used to be the snake people.
Wait, who? Why doesn't it have snakes anymore?
Okay, so
because of a retcon that I did when I adopted it.
Oh,
So basically, Ballistria, when it was first created, was owned by Cell. And he created the snake people, the Orions, to go with Ballistria. Then Cell kind of fell inactive. Eventually, Ballistria got adopted.
Divide the way.
And I basically adopted the snake people for Iasath. And then, Shadow brought some Ursines for Ballistria instead of using the snake people.
Wait, so I assume Snake people are still wait. Oh God, I just
Yeah,
made a big dumb dumb.
the snake people are still canon. They're just in Iasaf now in central Gondwana.
Right.
Why
Instead
don't
of
we have birds?
no, we're not going there. No,
No.
no,
No, no,
no,
no.
no, no, no,
Actually,
no,
it's
no.
canon that bird people used to exist. Pagey did it in one of his role plays.
Very sad that they
It's
don't
They
canon.
exist
used
now.
to exist, but they don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Libertani, very sad.
Well, see, here's the thing. I originally, I had adopted Ballistria because I wanted that territory. Except when I adopted Ballistria, I just kind of wanted to expand it out a little more and then roleplay it with it at the time. And I realized that if I'm just going to adopt a nation, I'm not going to just tack on territory for it. And then I was like, well, I don't feel like roleplaying two different nations. And so a beautiful plan that I came up with was, oh, I'll just have Ballistria and Alxeria become one.
Hmm.
The problem is I had an Elven Alxerian nation and an Ursine Ballistrian nation, so I needed to find a reason why they were uniting. And I decided that the best way to do that was with war. Also because the cartographer straight told me that I couldn't just annex Ballistria, I actually had to do something about it, so I was like, okay, here we go. So I decided, you know what? Why not? What could possibly go wrong? So the original plan was that Ballistria basically just committed acts of terrorism within Algerian territory, and tried to like invade parts of Algeria under the guise of like, oh, this is actually Ballistrian territory or something. And I kind of just threw that plan away. You can really tell I threw that plan away like mid roleplay,
It's
kind of
gone.
by accident. And then I decided, you know what? I liked Eldris as a character, the way that I had developed Eldris and everything. And I was like, I kind of want to. I didn't want to retcon his character, but I did kind of want a fresher start for a character. Because I was like, I feel like I already based way too much of Eldris off of John Oliver. And I was like, I really feel like that was kind of wrong, and I didn't want to seem like I was trying to rip him off completely. So what I did was, is I just was like, all right, I can kill off Eldris and bring in Dorothea, because I had not established anything about Dorothea at that time. Because a plan of mine was to have Dorothea introduced to the realm and to the world as the heir of Alexeria. And, one of her top jobs would have been being I don't want to say the ambassador, but basically the ambassador to Magaria. Because at the time I had already established that Algeria had a therapy program going on within Magaria post the Megarian Civil War to help deal with a lot of the mental health issues that they would have had due to the war and everything. And so that would have been like Dorothea's introduction to the realm as a leader. And then I just kind of killed off Eldris, and now Dorothea's been yeeted into the role of queen, juggling 7 different things. And one of those things that she's now juggling is figuring out how she's going to annex Ballistria at the end of this war.
I have a couple of questions, basically.
Where would you like to start?
Why? The question is why? Why Eldris, man? Everybody loved Eldris.
And like that's the thing too, is that like everybody loved Eldris. And I also loved Eldris. Don't get me wrong, guys. Like I absolutely loved Eldris. I liked role-playing as him, and I liked writing for him. However, I really felt like at a certain point, I was kind of getting too close to just literally copying and pasting John Oliver into Earth without really changing anything about him. and I wanted to change that, but I didn't want to retcon his character because I would have retconned so much. So I decided to just kill him off and have Dorothea be the new kind of leader and the new person that I would kind of lead Algeria with.
Yeah. There's another question I had in mind. Why is Algeria in Megharia? Why is it helping Megharia specifically in canon?
So I'm going to point to to an older roleplay that I did that I haven't touched in a while, due to the fact that that character is currently dead. But if everybody remembers, Ye Last Week Tonight,
Yeah.
that in that roleplay, I established that Eldris did an episode on Bulgaria and the situation that was going on in Bulgaria. Bringing to light the fact that, their civil war has basically just ended recently. They're in their they're basically post-Civil War reconstruction going on. And Eldris, being a faithful Zathosi, and one of the core tenets of Zathos's, being in the Church of Zathos, is care for one another, and assisting those who need assistance. And Megaria pretty much needs it the most, because Megaria is coming out of a civil war, and their nation is trying to rebuild from the ground up. And considering the fact that, news of the whatchamacallit, news of the Civil War had or news of this child soldiers, excuse me, had reached Eldris's desk, and he was bringing to light the fact that a lot of these children fought in the Civil War, and now what are they going to do? All they've ever known is war, and now they're at peace, essentially. So what Eldris did was set up a foundation. He set up a foundation to help send licensed psychologists and psychiatrists over to Megaria to help rebuild Megaria, essentially, assist in that. When Eldris died, the next of kin, which is Dorothea, is now in charge of this foundation. And Dorothea has made it very blatantly clear, especially to the Archbishop of the Church of Zathos, that she is going to that Dorothea is going to continue sending aid, and as with the wishes of Megaria, they're not going to send anyone who's going to try and proselytize over there, because that's just a death sentence, and that's not what they're there to do.
Unless you're suicidal. I don't know.
I mean, that's for another role play. That's for kind of the From the Ashes 1.5, the intermediate bridge / the background that goes on between From the Ashes and the next roleplay that will happen once the war ends, which is known as An Empress Rises, because that is literally what I'm going to call the next roleplay. Spoilers. An Empress Rises.
Suspiciously accurate, a suspiciously detailed revelation right there, Shadow.
What do you mean?
We can't wait for the Empress Rises, so
yeah.
Arturia can burn again and again and again until 2024. I don't know.
Arturia is just the continent that burns.
I mean, is it really though?
The roof.
Come on.
the Puntalian crisis, the Ballistrian crisis, Ithilclory as a whole, Yadilica becoming part of Ithilclory. Do you want me
Like,
to
there's still
continue?
West Novaris. There's still West Novaris. What do you mean?
No. West
It's
Navaris is a
Forest.
dumpster fire.
Wait, so
It's the John Mulaney bit where the John Mulaney bit. This is an on fire garbage can. Could be a nursery. Meanwhile, Arcturia is just like on fire constantly. There hasn't been an end to tensions in Arcturia since basically the
Joined.
Rhodesia crisis.
it hasn't ended since we joined. It's our fault. Oh
It
God!
essentially is.
It is all of your guys' fault.
And there's even historical fire with what you call this Rukatel Rises. Remember my historical roleplay that's ongoing right now?
Oh yeah.
Oh my
the Yama
God!
virus is also in Arcturia.
Oh God!
Yama virus.
Wait a
for
minute!
reference,
Oh God!
the Yama virus is a kind of virus around. So Dylan roleplayed the Yama virus around early 2017, maybe sometime around then. Took place around the area of where Lausaria is,
Hmm.
and basically, the Yama virus turned people's hearts into mush. Essentially,
God.
that's kind of the gist of it. It killed very
Yum.
quickly and was basically 100% lethal. Although I
Those
don't even know
dear
if I don't even know if that's still canon, to be honest.
Let's treat it as canon because it sounds cool and terrifying.
No, and the other thing too is that like there's also now going to be historical. Well, when I say historical, I mean starting in like the 1800s, beef
Not very
between
historical.
Ballistria and Algeria, just to kind of better flesh out the tension between Ballistria and Algeria, especially in the recent years. Because like, hey, that's fun. And
You know what?
and that's just kind of how the things go, you know.
Yeah.
You know, the thing with this is that the hardest thing with writing these role plays, sure you can have very detailed like plans, right? Like Dylan, but I'm sure everyone has suffered from this. I think Shadow and me especially have suffered from this. That is getting writer's fatigue, where you just there's nothing coming in. There's nothing going inside your brain.
You mean writer's block?
Is it a writer's block?
It's writer's block.
There's a difference between a writer's block and a writer's fatigue. Do you know why?
Writer's fatigue is more of you've been writing so much that you just can't produce anymore. Whereas writer's block is there's nothing, head empty.
The thing with me personally, I think it's a mixture of both. Uh, okay, Meegs. No. I think it's a mixture of both, especially for me because I wrote like a bunch of stuff like a couple of months ago. It's months, not weeks. A couple of months ago, and it's just nothing. Nothing's there. And when I try, I get tired. It's like I run. It's like I ran an 8 kilometer marathon. Oh God.
Right, but
When
if
it comes to me, a lot of it is just simply lacking the motivation. Like I have the ideas. I just lack the motivation to write.
yeah, that's
And
also
it's
another
like-
issue.
Go on.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's another issue that like I have especially is I don't have the motivation to write like I used to. Because we'll take look at all the RPs that I made prior to September of 2020, and now look at the amount of role plays I've done since September of 2020. I just don't have the same motivation anymore. Ooh,
I still have
pardon me.
RPs open from like last March.
Oh yeah.
2020 March. I still have like 1 or 2 RPs open from them. Like, I want to continue those RPs, and I have an idea of how to continue those RPs, but it's like, even though I want to do it, I also don't have the motivation to do it.
Personally, for me, I feel like the best way to kind of deal with this burnout or this you don't have the motivation to do it anymore is do some news broadcasts. Just use the news broadcasts as just a way to just write out a few simple role plays. I mean, a really good example of this is the Aventus news broadcast from 2 days ago for 420. That news broadcast, like that, reading that, and it kind of inspired me to want to continue doing role plays. I mean, obviously, I still don't have an idea of how I want to end the war, and that's my problem. My problem is I don't know how I want to end the war or how it's going to end, especially now that I have like South Hills volunteers showing up out of nowhere. I did not plan on this, and now I have more people to kind of be like, okay, so the war is ending, and Algeria is going to get everything. Everybody chill? Cool? Great. Nice. And I'm sure most nations aren't going to be chill with that. Like, most nations are going to be like, what do you mean we're not getting a slice of this pie? So
I think it's not necessarily that. I think it's more a situation that we want to help you fuck them over, and then after that we just expect you to treat us with like greater respect, give us a lot of trade deals, whatever. I think that's what's happening there.
right. And, on the other side of things, I mean, we have a role player who's been here for what, eons at this point, by long, who the only thing they've done roleplay wise are news posts.
Every single goddamn day, Bylung has made a news post. I am not fucking kidding. Bylung has made a news post every single day for the past 10, 15
God.
years.
Oh God,
Yeah.
It's older than my brothers. Oh
Every
God.
single day. Bylung once covered a trial of a former president of Bylung that took over 180 real life days. He
Oh,
covered
God.
that trial every single day for 180 days. He reported it every single day in his news for half a year.
Honestly, kudos to this man.
Honestly, most of us aren't sure if he's actually there or if it's just a bot. That like I
I think
it's
honestly
not
it's
fun,
do not
guys.
know. I honestly do not know if Bylung is even a person at this point. No one has spoken with Bylung in I don't
Years.
know
Just
since when.
years. At this point, I think he just went in. I think he wrote every single article years ago, and then they just auto posting. Like it's a bot posting all of the things. Like everything we're seeing right now was written 10 years ago, 5 years ago, whatever, and they're just posting it right now, which may explain everything. Uh, I tried doing what Barlong did. I in my first weeks in role playing the Sokola News Agency. If it doesn't drain you, I don't know what will. I got drained so hard.
Honestly, news posts don't really do it for me anyway when it comes to RPs. When I want to do simple RPs, typically I'll try and do a post in Tales from Asendavia.
And that's not bad. I mean, the thing about Tales from Asendavia is that it's just kind of like a catch-all roleplay where you can kind of put, like, I don't want to say funny, but you can just put, like, low-effort art roleplays in there, that you want to do. And I like that concept. I like the concept of low-effort or catch-all thread you can put low-effort RPs in. Personally, for me, that's Algerian news tonight. That's where like my kind of catch-all, low-effort role players are gonna go. Because, to be honest, like the thing for me is that I think that doing news posts help kind of give a light on what's going on inside of the nation, even though I'm not role-playing something about it. So like it's obviously. Ant has a very important role when it comes to like major news coming out of Algeria. But like, what about the minor news that happens in Algeria? Like, we just had, when the king died, they had an announcement about that. But what about like, I don't know, the noble Alfred who is still on trial right now because I haven't decided what's going to happen to him yet. Cough, cough. Totally not going to have him get assassinated. Cough, cough.
Oh God, not again.
Do it.
This seems familiar. Has this happened before?
Honestly, it's just kind of funny how I seem to just be how I seem to have a nice, easy relationship with just killing people that I create. Like, I feel like there's a problem there, and as a psychology major, I might want to look into that a little more.
Honestly, I personally have no problem with like killing characters I create if they're just like appear in a single post. But like characters that I've had for a while, I would never kill them. I just can't imagine killing them. Like sometimes I think about what would happen if they died and such, but no, I would never actually kill them.
Someone might die from the
Like, for example,
Sakala sphere.
I would never kill the Kaiser.
That's too bad.
Kill the Kaiser. Let's go.
No,
I will pay you 100
I will
gex.
ban all of you from the server.
All right, so as we're talking about like Asendavia and their Kaiser, one country that I've always been interested in knowing their politics about because
Yeah.
you really see much coming out of it. Asendavia and the Asendavian sphere, like politics. What does it look like over there?
Oh boy.
I love this can of worms. Let's go.
Oh God.
So basically, Asendavia is let me get this fully for you, a federal parliamentary absolute monarchy.
Wait a minute.
To put that into a more digestible phrase, it's okay, so think of Imperial Germany, before World War One. Germany was, it was ruled by a Kaiser, had a bunch of different sub-states beneath it, a few kingdoms, some duchies, etc. Asendavia, is like that, it's got its Kaiser, and there are a bunch of, some counties, duchies, grand duchies, etc. underneath the Kaiser. It's a federation of a bunch of different monarchies. And, it's parliamentary, it's got a legislature, it's got a parliament, although it calls its legislature the Imperial Diet. And for the absolute monarchy part, that may just seem so contradictory to the whole legislature and federation part, but basically, yeah, okay, so the Kaiser of Asendavia does have basically theoretically unlimited power within Asendavia. You know, he's not bounded by anything. And
Mhm.
so the legislature, the Imperial Diet, you know, it exists. It does pass laws and such. But I mean, theoretically, it's kind of powerless because the Kaiser could just at any point dissolve the Imperial Diet if he wanted. You know, he could veto any law if he wanted. He can completely make laws on his own and such. Like that type of stuff does not happen all that often, but it does happen. So the Imperial Diet does have a use, but it's it's a weak legislature.
Interesting.
It suggests laws, not make laws. What do you mean?
So the other is there any elected component of this parliament, or is it just fully made up of unelected nobilities?
Okay, so basically, I actually should note that in character, the way that the Imperial Diet functions actually is getting changed up in character. But the
Okay.
way it works currently, like before this change, is that so it's a unicameral legislature. You know, there's just one chamber. So, you know, the American Congress has two chambers, the Senate and the
Right.
House of Representatives. The Imperial Diet is just one chamber. And basically, within this chamber, there are three main groups of people. There are the, you know, elected commoners, basically, who make up. Let's see, how many seats do they make up? Okay, so actually, first off, I should state how many seats there are in this legislature.
Yeah, I think that would help first before we start talking real numbers here.
Yeah.
Get
So-
the wiki page.
Yes, I'm getting
Get the wiki page.
But basically, the Imperial Diet of Asendavia has, as of right now, 2,198 members,
Oh God.
which I think is still smaller than the Chinese legislature.
There we go.
How big
But
is the
basi-
Chinese one?
I think the Chinese legislature is bigger. I'll actually look that up right now.
I love how
Okay,
this
so
is.
the-
I love how we have to search this up now.
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus Christ. So the National People's Congress, China's legislature, is 2,980 people.
I
Okay.
mean, it's to be expected.
They meet in a single building.
Huh?
The whole Chinese legislature meets in a single fucking building.
I understand how the hell they managed to fit almost 3,000 people into one room.
I don't know, honestly, but back to Asendavia.
Right.
So basically, there are 639 seats that are held by, you know, elected commoners, basically, you know, normal citizens. And, you know, these citizens hold these seats for 5-year terms, you know, unless a diet is, you know, dissolved before then by however mean. But basically, there's those 639 citizens who are elected. And then there are 1,129 seats for the nobility.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So basically, the 1,129 seats of the nobility, they aren't elected, but they are appointed by a committee. So basically, this is gonna sound weird, but the nobles who serve in the Imperial Diet are chosen from a list by a committee called the Committee for Noble Legislative Seats, or the CNLS for short. And then the committee's members are chosen by the Kaiser. However,
Okay, that's interesting.
yeah, the seats that the nobles hold don't last permanently or for life, though. They, the nobles hold their seats for 10 years.
Oh.
And then last but not least, for the remaining 430 seats, we have the clergy.
Ah, yes. Atomarism, let's go.
Yes, Atomarism for the win. Okay, so basically, the clergy do hold their seats for life, or until they resign. I mean, they can be removed as well, but, typically it's either for life or they resign. But basically,
Okay.
the seats of the clergy are actually divided even further, specifically into different branches of Atomarism. So,
Such as?
okay, so Atomarism has quite a few different branches. It's basically Christianity in that sense, ton of different branches.
Ah, yes.
So, the largest branch, at least within Asendavia, is the Church of Atomar. And basically,
Okay.
This
the
is not
Church of
confusing in
Atomar,
any way at all.
yeah, yeah, definitely. But basically, a Church of Atomar is kind of the Catholicism equivalent within Atomarism. It's got a high patriarch, which is basically the Pope, and it's basically kind of the Catholic Church of Atomar. But so yeah, the Church of Atomar holds 229 of the 430 seats, while 107 of the 430 seats are reserved for Selenite clergy, the Church of Sel, which is another branch of Atomarism. And actually, I need to describe the Church of Sel more. I haven't really lore built it yet. And then the remaining 94 clergy seats are for the other branches of Atom.
So does that imply that Impel Glory has religious clergy members in the Asendavia and whatchamacallit?
No, not Ifil
No.
Glory. Maybe
It's just a different religion.
Pravdeism. No, Pravdeism is Atom. It's just a branch of Atom.
The thing with Pravdeism is that it views Asendavia as like it usually it treats it like that the father that you really don't want to meet again, most basically.
Okay.
Even though Asendavia wants to get closer to like Ifokori keeps on pushing it back basically.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
Plus, they don't recognize the Kaiser. It views it's very different from Atomism in its base, in its core beliefs.
I could also probably just spend a whole podcast talking about Atomarism itself.
Oh God!
Oh, I would listen to that.
What do you mean lesson? You're going to host it. Oh
There we
no!
go. I mean, hey, if he gets to talk about Atomarism, I get to talk about Zathosism. I don't know how I'm gonna. I just created the word Zathos, and that's about it. I have not thought of pronunciation since.
It's kind of shadowism.
Shadowism. There we go.
Oh God!
I found that really interesting. The structure of the Asendavian political system, because so fun fact, Asendavia was the original basis that I created the government of Alxuria from. Like the absolute monarchy aspect of it, except I was like, but what if I democracied?
Oh God!
As we can tell, that's gone swimmingly well.
No one's dead. Totally, no one dead.
Except the first prime minister ever is now arrested on charges of treason and for his role in the death of Eldris. But it's fine. It sounds like Asendavian politics are a hell of a lot more stable than like most other nations in the world.
Somewhat.
I mean, it's
also,
more stable than
another fun fact
Victoria.
about the legislature is that so there are political parties within Asendavia, but the clergy members within the legislature are not allowed to be members of political parties.
Interesting.
That's another little fun fact. Like, they could obviously align themselves with a political party, but they're not allowed to be members of said political party.
I mean,
And
to be fair, if we want to talk about the political system that is Algeria, it's pretty much just a hot mess at this point.
Yeah.
What is
definitely.
not a hot mess?
Everything's a hot mess on Earth.
In real life and in
Yeah,
forum
both.
roleplay.
Both.
Role playing is my escape from the real world.
Why escape from the real world when you can get things like an on-fire garbage can?
Oh god, a civil war in the making in all regions. There's one about to happen in Gondwana. Remember the claim? That
Oh
god.
yeah.
No,
Yeah.
it's just pure fear.
Yeah, certainly.
I think one of the things that we usually don't talk about in general when it comes to role playing our nations is the everyday things that happen in our countries, right? We do have like we do have the channel world building. Like, it's not. I don't think it matters much if we talk about it here, right?
I mean, I believe that things that are established in world building are pretty much I want to say quasi-canon. They exist canonically at so long as the person who said it hasn't retconned it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So for example, I remember one of the early questions that I did was or one of the early questions that I remember was like government type, and I had said that Algeria was a mix of like an absolute monarchy and an early democracy. And people like looked at me funkily, and I'm like, I'll explain it better. And when I did, it came into more of the modern system where the king is, or the monarch, is the absolute final authority in whether a law becomes law or not. And then you have the noble Senate, the Senate where you get a seat for life in there because you hold the title of nobility, or you hold 2 lordships, which lordships are basically counts. Keep that in mind, because I don't feel like using the title counts. I don't like the title count. And then you have the elected General Assembly, where the whatchamacallit exists, where they're elected, the elected populace resides, where the domestic government is. Because you have the government that's run by the monarch and the government that's run by the prime minister. Except there is no prime minister right now, so the king is currently running the show. Well, the queen now. The queen is running the show, sort of. Except the General Assembly, which is the lower house, equivalent of the American House of Representatives, is pretty much up in arms about anything that the queen does on their own. So, there's that. Actually, speaking of which, I have an election that I still need to do for Algeria, which, again, spoiler alerts, a character that I created, Roland Trudeau, is going to become the next prime minister of Algeria.
Oh god, totally not based on anyone in
Very
real life.
I mean, I stole a picture of young. I stole a picture of young. What's his face? Jeremy Corbyn.
God.
And I'm going to be stealing the picture of John Corzine, who was the governor of New Jersey, for the deputy leader of the Liberal Democratic Party of Algeria. Because the two of them look eerily similar, so it's going to be a good running gag, which I'm excited for.
You know what I'm excited for?
What?
Actually, nothing. I don't have anything.
That's fair. Is there anything else you would like to talk about, Ian, before we wave adieu?
I think I just want to mention the craziness that is the Asendavien language.
Oh God.
Oh God!
Not
Here
this.
we
Not
go.
this kind of word.
Here's another podcast in the making, right there. The Asendavien
Yeah.
language.
Languages in general. Oh
Oh
God.
yeah. Let me just load up the spreadsheet and I'll list you off some of the
No.
country names in Asendavien.
No.
There we go.
You know, the thing with languages, especially on Earth, the conlangs that are in here are so good, magnificent. It's so awesome, like unironically awesome, especially with the work that MJ has done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Mhm.
oh God,
Yeah.
I mean, the language Sammy is creating, the
No.
Cookish language, just
Cookish.
chef's kiss,
Mm-hmm.
which is
Okay,
also going to be
Spreadsheet up.
which is also going to be very interesting for me personally, because technically Sammy's language is also going to directly influence my conlang. So I need to like work with Sammy, because New Laganas, or the what would be New Laganas in the more medieval time, would have had a really hefty influence on the medieval Algeria and the development of that language.
Okay, I have the spreadsheet up now if you'd like to listen to some of the names.
Oh yeah, let's go.
No.
Okay.
This is how we end.
I think I will start off with Kirloth.
Mhm.
Sorry, I have to prepare my voice for this one.
Oh, no.
Kirloth is Vakru Thomson Nestuka Klorun. Yadilika
Jesus.
is Vaiku Kokori Sutasalu. Free Pacific States is Ruka Nirstoso Savalto. Morste Bishley and West Pacific Territories is Asedostani Vakru Nirstos.
What's
And
more
then-
Sabishlia?
Yeah, Morste Bishlia itself is Acetostana Chlorun.
Okay.
Is a lot simpler than that one. I think one
Obviously.
of my
The accent.
favorites for these is New Laganes in Asendavien, which is Tuko Sisalu Chlorun, or basically Realm of 1,000 Isles.
That is really nice.
And also, there's one final one that I'm going to list off, and this one is actually from Beyond the Wall. And I actually came up with this one just yesterday.
Oh.
So, for a little background information, this nation in Beyond the Wall is basically a condominium between Gransreich and Asendavia. And its name in English is the Patriarchal Theocracy of Heligaland.
Oh, there you go. Patriarchal theocracy.
And now, the name in Asendavian is Kemko Maltuka Ifil Maltuni Sasuntas Chlori.
He's just doing vocal exercises at this.
At this point, it's just vocal exercises.
God, I need to know what Ithilchlori's name in his Endavian is.
Ithilchlori, because Ithilchlori is already an Asendavian word.
Wow. Oh God. Is it though? Is it really?
Yes, and if you deny it, I will mute you.
Ooh, let's go.
You do not have the power here. No, actually, you do. Oh no.
For example,
Alright.
ladies and gentlemen, I have just muted Art.
Yay!
However, he did not. I am power. I have power here.
We all have power here.
Oh,
God.
yeah. So, any final concluding thoughts we would like to add to our discussion here tonight?
I have a couple.
This afternoon, this morning, whatever time zone we're in at this point.
5 a.m.
Let's go.
Honestly, this has been in the works for like a couple weeks now, a couple months in the making, and I'd just like to thank everyone that's right here, that helped us, make this thing possible, especially Aga. Aga really pushed for this, I think, ever
Mhm.
since. Yeah, he pushed for this like a lot. I really want to thank him for this. I'd also like to thank, my predecessors in Shadow, of course. I'd also like to thank Norgs for not only laying the foundations for Urthcast to happen, but you know, doing their best in while they were still in this office. I'd also like to thank, of course, the both of you, the hosts. Um, Thank you for stepping up to the plate when nobody else did. It would have been awkward with just me and then one random guy here.
I mean, it's a lot easier when you have other people you can kind of bounce off of. Because when you have other people, you can kind of like ask questions and be quiet for a while you like think of what you're going to respond with next.
While you
Yeah,
vibe in the
definitely.
corner.
Vibing in the corner. Let's go.
I love vibing in the corner.
Personally, for me, I would like to thank everybody who's currently listening live as we're recording this. You've provided some hilarious commentary that we've gotten to read while talking. I would also like to thank anybody who will be listening to this later. When we actually publish the first episode. The fact that you're listening to this means that we're going to do more of these. And I like to extend the invitation to other members of Forum Roleplay or in other roleplay communities. Specifically in Forum, because this is Urthcast.
Yeah.
If you have a topic you want us to talk about, DM us. DM either Ian or myself, and we'll include it in the next episode or in an episode down the line. I definitely want to have a podcast episode on religion or different religions. So, like, I want to do one for Adamarism because gotta have the classic Adamar. I want to do one on Zathosism because that's also going to that's going to help kind of flesh it out a little for people who don't know what Zathos, the Church of Zathos is. And I also want to do some. I also want to do some episodes on different conlangs and other nations and whatnot. So if you have a suggestion or you want us to talk about something, DM us and we'll bring whatchamacallit. And we'll bring it up for the next time. Anything you would like to add before we end, Ian?
No, I think you pretty much covered everything I would have said personally, so I think we can end this just about now.
All right. Again, this podcast is called Urthcast. It is hosted by Ian and myself. myself, Shadow, that is. And I would like, I wish you all a good day. And this is Urthcast, signing off.